All right, welcome to the show. Welcome to Too Much Coffee, episode 13. It's a sad day because my co-host Kevin cannot be here today. He's busy. He's moving. He's got a lot of stuff going on. So it's just little old me today, but I'm glad you decided to listen to the show. Listen, we appreciate you. Don't forget that you can listen to the show on Spotify. You can listen to it on Good Pods or Podchaser or Apple Podcasts. We would love for you to go to YouTube and check out the show. Subscribe to the channel, like, comment, let us know what you think. We like to have conversations with the fans, so let us know what you think so we can talk back and forth in the comments, and that's a lot of fun. So anyway, thanks for stopping by. Now today is a treat because I have a special guest. Brett and Crystal from Scary Savannah and Beyond are going to be on the show today talking about their podcast and ghost stories and the city of Savannah and why it's a haunted and scary place and about their trips to Vegas and all kinds of fun stuff. So stick around to the end of the podcast for that. But before we get into it, I got a few news items that I thought we would talk about today. I was going to do when bands blew it, but Kevin's not here, so I think I'm going to wait till next week. Okay, we're going to pick that back up next week when bands blew it, which was a lot of fun. I love that segment. I love music in general, so I just love to dive in and read about these bands who, you know, you have a band and like they're so good and they're so talented, everything comes together, but they just can't get along, and you just shake your head. It's so sad, and sometimes it's hilarious. So anyway, we'll get back to when bands blew it next week, but before we get to Brett and Crystal, let's look at a few little interesting news items. One thing that did make me chuckle. All right, I've got this story here. This story has a great visual, so if you get a chance, just Google the headline. Bored security guard draws eyes on a 740,000-pound painting in the gallery. It's got the visual. If you're not looking, if you're not going to look it up, just imagine like a sort of a very... like a nice looking painting, a sophisticated painting, but the faces are blank. And so this security guard got bored. Guarding a museum, I'm sure, is extremely boring work. You're just walking around all the time, doing nothing. It's quiet. You're there all night. And, I guess he decided he was going to entertain himself. So the story says a security guard has been fired after defacing a valuable modern art painting on his first day. Oh, I missed that part. Forget about it being boring. First day, how much of a mess up can you be to do this on your first day on the job? The artwork was insured for 74.9 million rubles, the equivalent of 740,000 pounds, and was on display in the Yeltsin Center in Russia. The damage believed to have occurred on December 7th, 2021, when the security guard is accused of drawing eyes with ballpoint pen on two of the three faceless figures in the painting. And that's literally what it is if you look at the picture. It's a blank face with two. If you just take a pen, you put on a piece of paper and start making circles. That's exactly what it looks like. But the employee who'd worked for a private security company and is in his 60s is said to have been sacked. Oh, you don't say. Is said to have been sacked since his identity was discovered this week. This poor guy, it looks like he might get fined 40,000 rubles and a 1-year correctional labor sentence. Oof. I thought that was that's pretty funny. I would love to do an interview with this guy and see what was going on in his head. Like, what was it? It was just, did you just think like, man, I'm 60. I'm too old for this crap. This is boring. I hate this job. And he just decided to YOLO. Screw it. They're never going to see it. Who cares? Guess what? They saw it. I've got this other story here. So this is both awesome and funny when you watch the video. The headline is hilarious to me. I don't know who Dave is. This is from the Brit Awards, so it's some sort of British musician. But the headline says, watch Dave play a flamethrower guitar solo at Brit Awards 2022. So what happened was this guy, and if you watch the video, they're all on stage, and there's fire everywhere, and it's a choir singing. It's very epic. And this one guy is playing the guitar, and all of a sudden, flames start shooting out the end of his guitar like a flamethrower. He turned his guitar into a flamethrower. But what's funny is, I mean, that's epic and awesome to shoot flames. I mean, that's like a Kiss move to shoot flames out of the end of your guitar. But you watch the video and like the guy is very calm. He's standing there. His guitar is at a very reasonable height. He's very calmly standing in place, not moving too much, playing his guitar solo, not burning it up, just playing a guitar solo. And then, every once in a while flames shoot out of his guitar. And it's like, man, if you come with flames coming out of your guitar, like, I get it. They probably, maybe insurance and like everybody backstage, like, you have to stand completely still. Do not mess around. I don't want this thing to explode. I don't want you to be covered in whatever this thing uses to shoot flames out the guitar. So stand still and be safe. So he's just standing still and he's got this rig on and flames shoot out every once in a while. So I don't know. It sounds awesome. And you watch the video and it's like, oh, well, I don't know. That's kind of cool, I guess. If you're going to have the man shoot flames out of his guitar, come on. Have him jump around. Have him like do some Jimi Hendrix stuff where you're just losing it on stage and freaking out, throwing your guitar around and getting on your knees and just getting lost in it, shred it like Prince. All right, as you know, we enjoy talking about NFTs on this show. It's a joke that I think Kevin's not here, but I think I can safely say that he hates NFTs, like just in general. I have mixed feelings about NFTs. They're basically ridiculous right now, but that doesn't seem to be going anywhere. And that's only made more clear by this news story. It says NFT platform OpenSea hits a record $3.5 billion in monthly Ethereum volume. So just soak that in. 1 month. Now, OpenSea is a marketplace where people, sell NFTs. 1 month, Ethereum volume is $3.5 billion in a month. That is absolutely mind-blowing. NFTs, you've seen NFTs. Bored Apes Yacht Club, Cyberpunks, the punks, the pixelated punks. All these monkeys, all these lions, all these penguins, all these NFTs, and they're doing $3.5 billion in a month. There's just no way that it can stay this way, right? This has to be vastly overvalued. I mean, how much are these NFTs that are selling for so much money right now? How much could they possibly be worth in 5 years? Are they going to end up being like the Mona Lisa? Maybe a few of them will be. Maybe a few of them will always be worth something. $3.5 billion. That's incredible. Well, anyway, they're taking that money and they're getting into the venture capital gain. It seems like a lot of these NFT sites are doing this, where now they're making so much money that they're sitting around like, we got to do something with this. So they're financing NFT projects. They're financing game projects. They're trying to put NFTs out in as many places as they can. I think NFTs definitely have a future in games. There probably will be a few NFTs that will maybe be valuable for a very long time, kind of like if you have a copy of Action Comics #1. But for the most part, all these lame NFTs, they cannot be worth something in 5 years. But anyway, I just thought it was interesting, just the amount of money, just the absolute amount of money that they're doing. All right, I got to tell you this too. This is, that Snoop is doing the Super Bowl. Dr. Dre, Snoop Dogg, Eminem, Mary J. Blige, probably some other people. And we talk about Snoop on the show sometimes. He's just an interesting, he's Snoop. Snoop. He's ridiculous, but a legend, but hilarious. And he's doing stuff with Martha Stewart, and he's high all the time. He's Snoop. And, in a very Snoop-like maneuver, he's about to put out a record. I guess this song is on the record. He put out this song. You've all watched Curb Your Enthusiasm. You know the theme song, right? That song. Snoop raps over the Curb Your Enthusiasm song. You can search for it in 2 seconds. I'll put the link in the show notes, but it's hilarious. It's actually better than you might I don't know. I didn't know what to expect when I clicked on it. I guess it's pretty good. He does drop the N-bomb about 10 times in the first 30 seconds. So I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't link to that. But anyway, if you want to hear something pretty funny, go check out Crip, Your Enthusiasm. Get it? Crip, Your Enthusiasm. This is our last story. We all know the legend Jean-Claude Van Damme. Okay? Bloodsport, Time Cop, Double Impact. If you search for Jean-Claude Van Damme movies, it's a huge list. The Quest, Street Fighter, Hard Target, Expendables 2, The Bouncer, We Die Young, Black White. Most of these movies you have never seen and will never see. I mean, that's a lot of schlock, no doubt. Even his big movies were schlock. Sudden Death, Kill 'Em All, perfect. Oh, Double Impact, where he played his own twin. Remember that? Remember Double Impact? Bloodsport, Hard Target, Assassination Game. I mean, all right. Tons. I don't know who's made more schlocky action movies, Steven Seagal or Jean-Claude Van Damme. Well, anyway, it looks like Jean-Claude is about to make his last movie. He's announcing his retirement. The man is 61 years old, still in incredible shape. I'm sure he can still do a split. He can still probably kick straight up. It's one thing to do a split when you're, putting all your body weight down on your legs. It's another thing when you can just lift that leg up and kick straight up in the air, which is what Jean-Claude Van Damme can do. Incredible. Anyway, Jean-Claude is going to be shooting his last movie, his retirement movie. And it's going to be sort of a meta movie, like kind of about himself and his career. He says, I want to leave the stage, but with a revisit to my career, starting with Bloodsport, the one where I started to become famous. I want this to be a new Bloodsport, but on a higher level. In the film, I'm on my way down in terms of a career, and as I come out of a premiere of another action movie, I'm not happy with that I've been living in hotels the past 30 years, which is actually true. We're going to bring real-life elements from my life and what happened to me. I came from Belgium all the way to Hollywood. I succeeded, I failed, I came back. So I'm walking out on the street after the premiere, and boom! A car hits me because I'm drunk. And when I wake from the impact, I don't know what my name is, and no one recognizes me. So this is going to be his final movie. What's My Name? That's the name of this movie. What's My Name? I don't know about you, but I love Jean-Claude Van Damme. I could do a whole show about Jean-Claude Van Damme. I was going to talk about Facebook a little bit, but I'm not going to talk about it. It's something about, Facebook. They're saying we might have to shut down in Europe because it has to do with data protection laws when European information is sent to servers in the United States and blah, blah, blah. I'm sure they'll work it out because Facebook made $6.8 billion from Europe last year. So I'm sure they'll work it out. But anyway, all right, that's been the news. By the way, if you're listening to this on YouTube, if I could get you to just click that like button, I'd appreciate it. Now we've got our special guest, Scary Beyond Savannah, a podcast about paranormal activity and true crime. We'll go ahead and talk to the hosts, Brett and Crystal Lay. Welcome to the show. Thanks for coming, by the way.
Well, thank you for having us.
We have I almost said the guests, but we have the hosts of Scary Savannah and Beyond on the show today. This is perfect because my co-host is gone. He's moving actually. He had to move to another place, got a new job, so he's busy right now, so he couldn't be on the show. But
that'll do it.
I'm glad to be talking to you fine folks today with your wonderful voice, as we already brought up.
Well, I do what I can. So
if I work on books, like children's books and stuff. So if I ever need someone to read a book, I'll have to get in contact with you.
Oh yeah,
that would be awesome.
Yeah, I'm looking into that voice acting already.
He did say he wanted to be a voice actor.
Yeah,
what you could do.
I write. We actually both write. We both. She's nearly completed her trilogy of books, and but I'm far more of a
idea guy.
Idea man. That's
what kind of books?
Mine is like murder mystery, Southern Gothic. His
makes sense.
Yeah, I've got like 6 books in the works right now. Well, no, I've written a lot of some of them. It's just I have so many things going on because I was in a band and I got burnt out in that because we were playing 4 and 5 nights a week and
on top of a real job.
On top of a real job and on top of having 4 kids. And then I'm like, you know what? I want to do a podcast because I just have random ideas.
You didn't have enough to do.
Head. And I told her, and she was like, she listened to podcasts quite a bit before that. And she's huge into true crime, which is why we cover true crime episodes. And she'll write all those scripts. And I basically sit there and react to them as they happen, because that's how I roll, with true crime.
Yeah.
And I don't know where my stories are going. I've got one that's a dystopian story. I've got one that's a murder mystery. I've got one that's like a rock space funk band that lands in Alabama. I got all this stuff going on.
If you combine all these stories, parts of stories into one, you might have something funky going on.
I got a whole anthology going, and I could probably get it on Shudder someday too, because that's my new favorite channel.
What's Shudder? What's that?
It's an app that it's a horror movies and stuff. So, but I go and try to find like the most B grade horror movies there are.
Yes.
And it's fun to watch.
They've got really good ones.
Yeah.
I love schlock. I like bad action movies, bad like schlock. Yeah. I read something today about Jean-Claude Van Damme is going to make his last movie. He's 61.
He was still alive.
Oh, well, he makes these sort of meta, these meta movies now where it's sort of about himself as well as the story. Like he inserts himself in the story. He had this movie show series, I think back in 2008 called JCVD. And it was sort of like just about him, but also anyway. And this new movie is kind of the same. It's like, it's both me and I'm a character in a movie. And he's like, this is my last one. And then I bought a boat. I'm just going to sail around the world. That's what he said.
Yeah, wasn't he like a ballerina or something, or a dancer? He wasn't actually a martial arts guy until he got into the movies.
A ballerina?
I don't know if it's a ballerina. Goodness. Maybe it was a interpretive dance. I don't know, but I don't think he was a martial artist per se until he got into the movies.
Well, now that you said that, I've got to look it up.
Yeah,
I think I could do an entire show about him and his movies.
Yeah, but I'm in sales, so I can pretty much convince anybody of anything. So.
Okay. You know what? Sales, if I could go back in time, I have an art degree from in college, which is useless, really. But if I could go back in time, I would do marketing or something like that.
Yeah,
because
it's very useful.
All these like podcasts and other stuff I do, marketing is like the most important thing on the planet. If you can't market online, you are invisible.
I know. And it's a very competitive place to be in. Well, right now.
Yeah, it's gotten huge.
Yeah. You can be out on Twitter and you can run your mouth all day, send 1,000 tweets a day, blah, blah, blah. And absolutely nothing can happen.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And like I did a tweet a few days ago, which was totally innocuous. I thought like nothing to it. And it stinking blew up. And we got like 30 followers from it and like 11 retweets, which is insane because ours don't do anything like that. And then this one does that.
Use the magic hashtags. I don't know.
I found that right person.
Yeah. I'm sort of hoping that my tweets reach Stephen King at some point and he'll be like, wait a second, this guy's a genius.
You know what? I was going to bring up that your wife was wearing a Stephen King shirt. I checked, I looked at your guys' Twitter stuff before the show, and I noticed that she's wearing an I Love Stephen King shirt in her
Stephen
profile
King
picture.
Rules.
Oh, there you go. There you go.
And that
it's actually from Monster Squad.
Yeah, from an old horror movie from back when I don't know how old you are, but I'm 43.
I'm 39.
Okay, so you're close. So you might remember it then. There was an old
basically
movie
40. I'll be 40 next month. Yeah.
Yeah, and one of the characters in that movie wears that shirt.
Yeah.
So, and she loves Stephen King too. So that it just worked.
I read everything. He comes out with like 2 books a year. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's sickening, really. Somebody can be so prolific.
I've heard about Stephen King my whole life. Everything he's ever made has been made into like 2 or 3 movies and TV series. Yes. And I've never read a Stephen King book. So my wife and I went to, what's it called? Waynesville. Yes, we went to Waynesville, a place in Georgia.
Yeah.
And we were just driving around and we saw this giant sign that said something like 250,000 plus books. So we turned, went down the road and we kept driving and we're like, I don't see a bookstore or anything. So turned back around. We were driving back and then down in like this hole, it really just looked like some old, like abandoned house. But we're like, that's gotta be it. So we pulled in and it's this It's this building, this old building. You walk in, and it is absolutely, completely filled with books from the floor to literally from the floor to the ceiling. And
we call that Goodwill here in Georgia.
That's exactly what it was, but all books. And the aisles were so. Now you can see me. I'm kind of a skinny guy. I could barely get through the aisles. Like, they were so tight.
Wow,
I've never seen anything like it. And you feel like if just one thing went wrong, if you sneezed in the wrong place, everything would go down and take you with it. But I was walking around there and I saw a Stephen King section. It had all these Stephen King books. And I thought, I've heard about Stephen King my whole life. Everybody says Stephen King's amazing. So I need to pick something up. So I ended up getting Misery and something else. So I haven't read them yet, but they're on my shelf, and I'm about to read my first Stephen King book ever.
Definitely read them.
Pretty excited about it.
Which one would you recommend if you were picking a first one?
First one, I don't know, but Under the Dome was epic.
Yeah, the TV show was absolute trash, but the actual novel Under the Dome was really
huge,
good.
Though. Oh, and 11/22/63.
Oh, that's
that
great.
one was amazing.
That's about John F. Kennedy.
Oh my gosh, you got to read it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like he tries to go back in time and stop the assassination of John F. Kennedy.
It's Stephen King?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Time traveling?
And they even made it into a series on, I don't even know what it was on.
I mean, he writes, it's not
so good.
just horror. I mean, that's still sort of a horror kind of book, but he even writes he's got this Game of Thrones book called, what is it, Eye of the Dragon or something?
Eye of the Dragon.
And it's almost a kid's book, but
it's not
quite.
Like anything else he's ever written. I would even let a kid read that one. It has nothing in it.
So he's got some really good stuff. Not just all of it is people getting eaten by werewolves.
Joyland, that one was great.
Yeah, that was great.
I think one stumbling block is that I know his books are gigantic. Now, I'm a reader and I like to read.
Joyland, it's short.
Okay.
Joyland is really easy to read.
It's an easy read. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. Joyland. I'll have to remember that. I'll listen to this again when I'm editing it. So I'll definitely write that down.
Cut that part out right there.
Go
That's what I do.
Yeah, there was some thread about, do you listen to your show? And it's like, yeah, I listen to it 3 times while I'm editing. So
yeah, exactly. And it's by the time I'm done with it,
I never listen.
I don't want to hear it. Well, then you don't know what it is I make you sound like.
I know. I have no idea. Well, I listened to one episode the other day.
This is why I always sound like the smart one on the show. It's like
were you saying recently that you spend an enormous time editing your podcast?
A ridiculous amount of time.
He does.
Yeah.
He's really anal about it.
I am. I love dealing with audio, and I've got the settings pretty much where I like them, but I still go in and cut out. If I have a space that, for most people sounds conversational, I hate seeing empty spots on my timeline. So I'm sitting there and I'm cutting out spaces. I'm cutting out ands and ums. I don't cut them all out because then it would sound like robots, but we'll record about an hour episode, and then I might spend 3 to 4 hours editing it. And I just started doing the video on this morning, and I'm having to teach myself Premiere. And I did used to edit 15 years ago or so on Final Cut Pro. So I know how to do video editing, but it's been so long and it's a different program. I had to relearn shortcuts and finally got it figured out. Talked to a producer friend of mine, and it's coming together. So we're hopefully going to post our first video podcast hopefully tomorrow at the same time that we post the audio version.
So this is a Scary Savannah video podcast.
Yes.
Scary Savannah.
Exciting.
And
very cool.
We had to record it twice because
it turns out
problems.
I have issues with doing things properly. It's a whole thing.
My camera recorded in slow motion the whole time. So it's just me moving epic.
It'd have been like me talking and being like, Crystal, so what did you think about the Marshall House? And it'd be like she's slow motion walking away from a car explosion, like an action hero.
Uh-huh. So, yeah, like Jean-Claude. Yeah, I got you.
Yeah, exactly. I seen him walk away from a blowing up car before.
I would love to do a video podcast at some point. We put our stuff up on YouTube, but I just use a still image. I really like YouTube, and if I were going to grow anywhere, I'd like to grow on YouTube. I don't know if that's the right move or not, but that's what we're doing.
So. I mean, that's why we're going for it. I just figured there's so many people. It's like the second largest social media site. Yeah, and people. Oh, it's one of our co-hosts, Layla. Hey, they love to see video content. I mean, we upload our audio podcast to YouTube too, but we don't get a lot of listens through that. We get quite a few through our RSS feed, obviously. Right. And I think people just want to see something happening. So we've got a multicam video. We're using 3 angles, one on me, one on her, a wide angle. Might bring a drone in at some point, fly over the building. No real reason.
You know what? You'd be the first podcast ever. Just have somebody in the corner working a drone at all time and getting interesting
and
angles.
Even see the drone footage. We'll just have one of the cameras aimed at the guy operating the drone, so you know that we're using the drone. And it's
never explain it. And then people just say, "Why do you cut to some guy playing with a remote control car? Or something? What is he doing?"
So you know exactly what I mean.
Add an element of the surreal to your podcast.
Yeah. Have like 3 or 4 people standing around in black suits and ties with sunglasses on, just standing there stoic for like the full hour, not moving at all. Act like we don't see them. It's really almost too easy.
Tell me a little bit about your podcast, what you talk about, and how it got started.
You want to do that, Crystal?
Well, we talk about true crime and ghost stories from all over Savannah and all over the world. We even went to France.
Well,
no, we didn't actually go. We talked about a story in France.
Yeah.
And we also do legends.
Yeah.
And we did this because he always has great ideas.
Yeah. I'm an idea man.
He likes ghosts and I like true crime. So we thought we'd combine it.
Yeah. And the real reason it started was because, like I told you, I was in a band and I got a little burnout from us playing around the area so much. Because I don't know if you've ever done that before or not, but usually when you're playing around in the music scene around here in most places, you got to be there. You usually start around 8 or 9 o'clock, and you're not done till about, you play a 4-hour set. You're not done till like 1 or 2 in the morning. And then you got to break your stuff down and drive home. Then I'm going to get home till 3. And you do that 4 and 5 times a week and you're over the age of 40. I just get tired and burn out. So I was like, I can't do this anymore. So our band disbanded. And I really wanted to do some sort of project with Crystal. And I've always liked audio podcasts. I listen to audio horror drama podcasts quite a bit. That's basically what I'm listening to when I'm, not listening to my music. And I said, well, we could do that. I think it'd be fun for us to do a project together. So, and we live in the scariest city the most haunted city in the world. Scariest city might be somewhere in the Midwest, but the idea came to me and she worked with me. She actually came up with a name for the podcast and we just went from there.
The name came first. Yeah.
I was thinking Scary Savannah, but we didn't want
I thought that would be limited.
Yeah. We didn't want to, pigeonhole and get ourselves like tied into just one thing, because even though we're loaded with ghost stories here, and there's actually a lot of true crime stuff in this area too, but eventually you run out of that no matter how much you got. Right. And I wanted to be able to talk about, a thing I'm really fascinated with is the Appalachian Mountains and the ghosts and the folklore and everything up there. And I wanted to be able to talk about, if we wanted to go to the Salem, Massachusetts, for example, somewhere we actually want to physically go and do a show about. And we want to visit the Lizzie Borden house. And so it would.
What a great excuse to travel. You're like, oh, it's for the podcast.
Oh, yeah.
We have to go here and there and here and there.
Yeah.
I said, it turns out for some reason we got to go to Ireland.
We go to like a lot of fancy dinners downtown just for research purposes.
Yeah, we do. It's very important and we have to go there. Otherwise we don't feel authentic.
Believe it or not, Aruba has so many ghosts and so many haunted buildings. We have to go down there and check it out.
Yeah, we could do a joint venture. I mean, you can come down there and come with us, and then we'll write it all.
Yes,
and it'll just be a very informative time to help our listeners understand the true depths of the paranormal in tropical locations.
Listen, ghosts are in places you didn't know. You had no idea. Rome. Sandals, Jamaica, they're all over the place.
It's weird how that works. And I'm just trying to bring awareness to it.
Yes. Well, I didn't realize that Savannah bragged about being one of the most haunted cities in the United States. I guess I was Googling and said, "Oh, look, that's what they call themselves."
First thing they tell you when you get here.
Yeah. We are not one of the most. You ask anybody here, we are the most.
Yeah, they say they're the most.
And it's because, I think one of the reasons is the historical significance of Savannah. Most of the cities in the Southeast were destroyed in the Civil War when Sherman marched to the sea. Mm-hmm. And when he got to Savannah, the people here were smart enough to go out and meet him in advance before he got here. And they said, we'll surrender. Right. And don't destroy the city. And so he didn't, and they took it captive. And so we still have a lot of very old buildings, I guess, in relation to like, the places we really need to go visit, like Rome and such. They're not that old. But as far as the Southeast is concerned, United States, we have some of the oldest buildings here.
It feels old when you drive around Savannah. All the buildings that look like they could be plucked right out of, what's that movie? Scarlett O'Hara.
Gone with the Wind.
Yes. You look like you'd be plucked right out of, it would not look out of place in Gone with the Wind. That's what a lot of the houses look like.
And we have
everywhere you go, you're stepping on dead bodies. Like everything's built over
my
graves.
Gosh.
Everything.
That needs to be on the website.
We should.
Welcome to Savannah. Everywhere you step, you're stepping over a dead body.
Driving over them, which just freaks me out.
Oh, man.
Please visit our restaurants and bars.
I went down there. I had a friend who lived in Savannah. I went to visit him one time. Happened to be we didn't go down there for St. Patrick's Day, but it was St. Patrick's Day.
So
we went out,
and
it was
a big
crazy.
mistake.
It was crazy.
Yeah.
It was scary in a different way.
Yeah.
We have for St. Patrick's Day, I think it's
the third largest
celebration in the entire country. I mean, I think we're only behind like Boston and New York, I think.
Wow.
They have a office in the historic district of Savannah where all they do is plan the St. Patrick's Day parade. That's all they do.
They spend the whole year planning the next year's parade.
Well, at least they used to, and then COVID happened.
They're going to do it this year.
Oh, they are going to do it. Yeah.
It's just going to be scaled back. They're not going to allow liquor on the streets or something, I believe.
Well, then why even go?
I know. It's like, people are going to be so angry.
It's a shame. What a shame.
Because you can usually walk around with your alcohol downtown. So people are not going to be happy about that.
Yeah. You had to buy a special wristband during the festivities, though. So they're going to make some money out of it somehow.
Give the people who are listening a sense of the kind of stories that you tell. So maybe you could tell me a ghost story.
Oh, we can definitely do that. But I think if you want to know the scariest thing, we'll tell you the one about the Marshall House, because that's one where we actually were physically assaulted by a ghost.
Well, I was, yes.
Well, I wasn't assaulted, but I did. So this is the story about the Marshall House. Do you want to?
You can tell them.
Okay. The Marshall House is on Broughton Street in Savannah, and it's a hotel. It's an inn now, or a hotel. I don't know what they exactly call it. I think it's an inn. And it's been there for a very long time. So it was there during the Civil War. It predated the Civil War, actually. And it had been used as a hospital during the Civil War, where, the soldiers came in there and they were treated. Obviously, there were amputations. There were people dying there during we've had yellow fever epidemics in Savannah, which were, would wipe out people. We had a lot of issues with that through the years. So there's been a lot of heartache and hardship in Savannah, which also gives people reason to believe that we have a lot of ghosts here. So the story about this hotel is, the main thing is that it's haunted by the ghosts of the Civil War soldiers that died. A story has been told about it, and I don't know how much credence it has to being true, but that when they were renovating this hotel to make it back into a place people could stay, they found the bones of Civil War soldiers buried in the basement. In
walls. They ran out of space to bury people, so they were just burying them everywhere.
Yeah, just stick them in a metal box.
Under floors and walls.
Wow. Stick them behind a curtain, just wherever you can put a dead body.
Yeah.
And so we said, we want to go stay there as one of our research trips. We got to go there. So we picked the most haunted room in the house.
414.
It has a lot of history there of multiple haunted rooms. So we stayed in room 414, and I took our Zoom recorder that we use for field recording. I took a video camera that can record in infrared, and I was going to set it up, video us while we sat there.
But it would not work.
I could not get it to function. I couldn't get the video camera to function, although our voice recorder did. So
the camera just wouldn't work.
Would not work.
It couldn't link up to their Wi-Fi, even though I had the password and it should have worked. It just would not. So we're going to invest in something a little nicer, hopefully, on the next time we stay somewhere. But we set all that up. We went out, had our dinner, came back, and went to bed in room 414. And as we were asleep, we left the TV on because I'm terrified of the dark. And
That's why he's a ghost hunter.
I can only turn the lights off.
That's a good trait for someone who covers hauntings.
I'm extremely brave in the sense that I just showed up. So
he wouldn't do it without me for sure.
No, actually, honestly, it's perfect because if you've ever watched those ghost story like TV shows and stuff, they really are like, what was that?
Yeah, and they're sitting in the dark. It's like Zach Bagans. He's like, what is wrong with you? All it is Satan. Come on. It's not a big deal. And then the other guy's like, I don't know why I'm getting paid minimum wage to hold a camera. But anyways, we stayed in the room and I left the TV on, and it was cold because it's been cold to us around here. Is like if it gets in the 50s, I'm cold. Yeah. So we had the heat on pretty high and went to bed, and we left the TV on. And then I think it was around 2:00, I woke up and I was laying on the bed, and I lay on the left side. She lays on the right side, and I had my arm laying out across the bed, and I felt something grab my arm right above my wrist, almost like it didn't feel like it was grabbing it hard, but something grabbed it, and I felt it like trying to tug my arm, almost like I thought it was trying to pull me off the bed, but it was sort of a gentle tug, and it was grabbing. And so that woke me up, and I was, freaked out, and I managed to go back to sleep. So I rolled over and said, okay, I'm just going to act like that didn't happen and keep my eyes closed and follow my rule number 2 of the most famous rules with dealing with spirits and ghosts: get under the covers. So I got under the covers.
You under the covers. Well, they can because they got me.
Well, that's because you weren't following rule number 1.
Which is what?
Leave all the lights on.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
we turned the lights off, and that was our first mistake.
Ghosts love the darkness.
Yeah. So I rolled over and at about, I think it was 4:00 or so in the morning, and I woke up because she was laying up against me, and she was shaking and just like
convulsing is how I would describe it.
She was convulsing, and I didn't know what was wrong with her. I just thought she was having a bad dream or something because I was like, but she was like, she sounded like she's hyperventilating. And I'm sitting there patting on her, and I'm like, are you okay? Are you okay? Are you awake? And she just wouldn't say anything, but she was like freaking out. And then eventually she snapped out of it. And you want to tell them what happened?
Yeah, I was like laying mostly face down with my arm over him. And all of a sudden it's like something came up behind me and was just like pushing with all its might down on my entire body. It was like I could not move. I couldn't breathe. Like I'm trying to scream. I'm like trying to wake him up. I'm like yelling his name in my head, but it won't come out. And weird. I'm like trying to move my arm because my arm is on him and I can't do anything. And I'm like willing him in my head to wake up. And finally I start moving a little bit at a time, and that's what wakes him up. And I'm like, I can hear him talking. I can hear him say, are you okay? What's wrong? Are you okay? But I can't respond. And it's like, it's just, I couldn't, like, I thought I was going to stop breathing for real.
Yeah.
And then finally it like gradually loosened up and I was able to move, but I was just like exhausted so much at that point. I could hardly even tell him what was going on.
Yeah. And we had read, like my younger brother suffers from sleep paralysis. So, I'm familiar with that.
I've never had anything like that happen. So that would be way too much of a coincidence for that to happen.
And
while you're in the most haunted room of the most haunted city.
I'm a very light sleeper, and I rarely have bad dreams or nightmares. Like I've never once woke him up like afraid. Have I ever?
No, she never has. No. And the funny thing is like after she calmed down, we pulled out my EVP, my Zoom recorder. I said, well, if we're going to do an EVP, we've already got it mad. So let's go ahead and talk to it. So
what's EVP?
That is an electronic voice phenomenon. So basically, if you ever watch one of these ghost shows, you'll see them walking around with a handheld recorder. And what they're attempting to do is supposedly, because we love the word supposedly, these spirits, you can't hear them audibly, but recording devices, for whatever reason, apparently they can interfere with it and create sounds that you don't hear with your ears when you're just sitting there. And I know it does work.
Yeah, we've actually captured several.
Because I have captured one pretty clear one before, but I did that there. And was that the one where we heard the heavy?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And I recorded it after that. And I didn't hear anything.
Questions like, is someone here?
Is someone here? What's your name? Do you want to kill me? Just
no.
Important stuff.
No, please.
And we played it back, and it's on the Marshall House episode. If you listen to our Scary Savannah and Beyond podcast, you can hear it, and it sounds like a really deep breath. It's like,
yeah,
but it's not us breathing, because I'm holding it away from me. And, you know, I know enough to know how not to breathe into a microphone.
Yeah, you weren't just standing with it like this, like
yeah. I'm not with it like I am right now on this, but it was clearly something very deep, and we didn't hear it until the day after. I was too scared to listen to it anyway. I was like, even if it did talk clearly, I'm not listening to this until we get home. But after that happened to her, and we thought it was over, she rolls over on her right side. I roll over on my right side. And, you know, she's spooned up against me, and we go back. We're about to go back to sleep. And I see something in the corner of the room, and it's still dark in here because the TV was off. You know, we didn't turn the TV off.
Oh, yeah, the TV turned itself off.
But the TV had turned itself off.
I assumed he turned it off. And I said, did you turn the TV off? And he's like, no. And the remote was on my side of the bed, like on the table.
Rule number one, baby, you never turn off any electronics or lights.
Neither one of us turned the TV off, but it was off.
Yeah, so it was off. And there was a dresser, an armoire in the corner of the room, and it was probably about 7 feet tall. Yeah, maybe it's very tall. And it was right beside the door to the room. And I saw something that I thought was a coat rack. And it was as tall as that. And, you know, my mind isn't working right. And I'm like, why is there a coat rack over there? Did I put a coat on that? And I realized it wasn't a coat rack. It was a dark, shadowy thing standing there, vaguely in the shape of a human. And there's a window on the other side of the room that the lights from, there's a parking deck right behind the building where people park, because Savannah's got 2 or 3 parking decks, and the lights from the parking deck were shining into the room, sort of filtering through the blinds, so you could sort of see a little bit of something there. And I thought that's what that was, but that thing started moving across the foot of the bed and just moved off.
And I had my eyes closed, and I saw it somehow. Even with my eyes closed, I saw a shadow move, and I opened my eyes. I'm like, "Did you see that?"
And the way
he's like,
the way we both know that we saw it is because I didn't say anything.
No,
I saw it, and I just sort of leaned my head up and leaned up away from the bed, and I'm looking at it. And she's like, "Did you see that?"
And with my eyes closed, I don't know how I saw a shadow move, and it was like it woke me, like made me open my eyes. It was crazy.
Yeah, it was terrifying and horrible. And thanks for asking.
Every place we've stayed downtown, we've had some sort of interaction with some sort of ghost.
So that's the scariest in the sense
that was the most
scared us legitimately.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as a story that might be scary beyond that, because what we say in a lot of our episodes is a lot of the stories told here are not true. It's embellished by storytellers. And some of these facts have been changed just to make it more entertaining, because Savannah is a tourist city, where the city itself is about 30 minutes away from the beach, right? Tybee Island, which is where we actually live. And so people will come and go to the beach. They'll go to the Savannah to walk around. We're only about an hour and a half, 2 hours away from Hilton Head, South Carolina. A lot of people like to go there too. And which is weird because you can literally see Hilton Head if you walk out and turn to the left, but it still takes us 2 hours to drive there. And they want to keep these tourists here and keep them interested. So they have a lot of tour companies here. So if they were telling the truth, they wouldn't have a lot of stories to tell people as they're walking around drinking.
On your show, you intersperse clips when you're telling the story. You'll intersperse clips of someone. I assume you just found somebody.
We ask people every time we go out.
Yeah. And it's, I have this way where I can, if I want to, I can talk to pretty much anybody, and I'll get to talking with our servers, and I'll talk to the bartenders, and I'll just be like, I know there's a story about this place being haunted. As anything ever happened to you? Do you believe in it? And then, 9 times out of 10, they'll tell you something, but then a lot of times they're just like, I don't believe in that.
Well, I'd say, 9 out of 10 people downtown believe in it. And like they have a house, like if they live downtown, their house is haunted too. And they just live with it. It's like, just get out of my way. I got to go serve my customers. Like they're over it.
What she's speaking about is there's a restaurant here called the Pirate's House Restaurant. And it's a very old building, and an interesting, and we have an episode about it as well. But an interesting story about that is Robert Louis Stevenson actually stayed in that house, and that's where he got the idea for Treasure Island. And so if you read the book Treasure Island, and near the beginning, he talks about being in Savannah. And so the pirate house was very close to the Savannah River, what still is. And they say there were tunnels underneath the pirate house that went from the pirate house and dumped off right at the Savannah River. And we're one of the largest ports on the East Coast. I mean, we're not nearly as big as some of the others, but we're a very active port city. And Savannah, you get on the river and it's just a few miles out to the Atlantic Ocean. So a lot of times they would have ships that needed crews. And what they would do is they would come into Savannah and go into these bars where people would be, and they'd be drinking, and then they would give them something more than alcohol to cause them to pass out. And they would drag the unfortunate sailors or soon to be sailors down through the tunnels and take them to the boats and force them or conscript them into working for them, because they wouldn't wake up until they're back out at sea. So their options are, I'm going to work for you, or I'm going to get tossed overboard. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And that's sort of where the term Shanghaiing comes from, because a lot of the trade at that time was with China. So, if somebody's getting taken against their will in one of these boats, that's why they were calling it being Shanghai.
Huh. Right.
So but the ghost stories of that building, they say they have you can hear the voices of the people in the tunnels. You can hear the sounds of the sailors walking through the heavy boot steps inside. Because if you go in the restaurant, it's very old, and it's got the old wooden floors, and it's been around a long time. And actually, one of the oldest buildings, I think the oldest building in the entire state of Georgia, is right on that property, right beside it.
Yeah, the garden.
The house where we actually
the herb garden.
The herb garden. Yes,
herb house.
It's actually part of the building that the pirate house is in, but it is extremely old in the sense that buildings in the South can be old. So.
Yeah.
Several times, and we've talked to several of the servers, and they all say that there's something there, and they just are used to it.
Yeah, and it's you can literally just take out like a map of the historic district of Savannah, put your finger on anything. It can be a private residence, and if you go there and they don't shoot you because they don't know who you are, then they'd probably be like, "Oh yeah,
we got a ghost.
Let me tell you something, brother. We got a ghost."
Yeah, actually, Monday we're staying at a haunted place called the Forsyth Park Inn, which we've done an episode on, and a friend of ours works there, and there's a ghost there named Lottie.
Yeah.
And she's a young ghost. Like, how old was she? Like 16?
Yeah, I think she was. And
she's mischievous more than benevolent, so we're not looking to get assaulted.
Yeah, I like the mischievous ghosts. I don't want, was it wish me ill will?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do me harm.
The Foley House had a mischievous ghost.
Yeah, it turned the TV off. I turned the TV on. It was like I woke up in the middle of the night, and the TV was still on because he likes it on when he goes to sleep. And so I turned it off.
Number one.
And I was trying to turn it off, and I was pushing the button and pushing it, and it wouldn't go off. And I'm like, maybe I'm pushing the wrong button. So I got my phone light out and looked, and I was pushing the right button. I was pushing the power button. So finally I pushed it and it went off, and I'm like, finally. So then I set it on the table next to the bed. And as soon as my head hit the pillow, the TV turned back on. I was like, oh my gosh, I guess we're watching Forensic Files.
That ghost was really into Forensic Files.
He was.
Yeah, I was watching that.
Yeah.
Come on now. I need to see how he got away with it.
A lot of things they do. They like to mess with electronics from what we've heard. Like every place says, they'll mess with your cameras. They'll mess with your phone. Like they'll move your charger across the room. Or
ghosts seem to share an interest in electric devices.
Yeah, they're
from what we've
fascinated by it.
heard. I mean, that not just limited to the ones at these places we go, but apparently that's a big deal,
everywhere,
worldwide as far as ghost hunting is concerned. So
now, do you think that because, all right, I have never had what I would call a paranormal experience, but I know people. Yeah. Yeah. Maybe I don't want one.
Terrifying.
But I've met people who have. And so it makes me wonder, is there something about certain people where
there is?
I don't know what it would be exactly, but is there just something about certain people where they attract or have paranormal experiences because of whatever? I don't know what.
Yeah, I don't know what it is, but I definitely think there are some people who are more affected by it than others. Like, I don't know if you're just open to it.
Like you're sensitive to something?
Yeah, they're sensitive to it. Right. Yeah. Like I tend to feel things more so than he does.
Yeah.
And he has had some, but like they seem to like gravitate more towards me.
I'm pretty
you guys look for them. So I bet you have.
Yeah.
Well, the scientific term for me is oblivious. So
yeah, I think that's a little bit of it. Yeah.
And it turns out I don't see much. Like, for example, we love going to Vegas. If you followed our Twitter at all, you see that we go to Vegas.
Oh, I'm glad you said that because I was going to ask you about, I'll put that in my pocket for a second, but go ahead.
So just a short thing about Vegas, Zach Bagans, who is one of the most popular paranormal investigators in the world. He's on pretty much all those ghost hunter shows and everything.
Yeah, for like 20 years, he's been on TV.
Somehow he's a multimillionaire, I guess now,
yes, he
but he's got a house there that he bought and turned into a haunted museum. And so he has all kinds of cursed objects, dolls, statues, pieces of, he's got an entire room dedicated to serial killers. So he's got like John Wayne Gacy's paintings.
He's got some of the bones from Charles Manson.
Yeah. So this place, what I'm saying about this place is it's obviously, if there's a place where there's evil present, this place is like concentrated evil.
Yes.
So we were walking through there. I felt nothing. I just thought I was in a normal place. And then she's in here and she felt it immediately. They have a room dedicated to Jack Kevorkian, Dr. Death.
Yeah.
And she had an experience there.
Yeah. When we walked in that room, all of a sudden I got super hot and lightheaded. And I was looking around to see if anyone else was, because I'm like going to take off my jacket and everything. And there was one other person in the room that was reacting. I saw him turn into his friends. He's like, is it not hot? It's crap in here. And they're like, no, they're fine. Everyone else was fine. Yeah. And I just could not get out of that room fast enough. And they actually video people while you're on this tour. And we've watched it, and people in that room will pass out. Yeah. They will just fall down.
It's not an isolated incident.
No,
and
it
it's
happens
on the
to
TV
a lot of
show.
people. Sometimes they have to take them to the hospital. Like,
but we didn't know that.
No, we didn't even know that beforehand.
Yeah.
You did feel something in the Sorrel Weed House. Do you remember?
I did. And I just thought it was because I had a few beers, but I don't think
Did you call it the weed? Did you call it the Weed House? Is that what you were feeling? The contact high?
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, there's this room when they first take you in on the tour, and it's like a parlor, I guess, and everyone's standing around in a circle. And we're like, I'm feeling like I'm shifting back and forth. And I thought, well, we had a drink at dinner, but I'm like,
we don't drink much.
It was not much. And then at the end, she was like, is anybody in here feel off balance? And everybody was like, yeah. And it was because something about that room just, and the room is level. Yeah. Yeah, she's like, it's not the floor. It's, there's something in this room. And everybody felt like they're swaying. That's kind of like you're on a cruise ship.
Weird.
That's the one time I felt something other than when that thing grabbed my arm.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
You did feel that.
But other than that, I'm pretty much oblivious.
You ever been you ever feel in danger when you go to play? I mean, actually, what you described earlier, where you have things physically contacting you.
That's the only time I felt like
shadows rushing across the room. You're like, oh, what are you going to do to me?
Yeah, the Marshall House is the only time I actually felt afraid.
Well, she'll feel these presences stuff sometimes, but it's not usually something that scares her. Mm-mm. And she'll feel like there's something there, something touched your hair or something in the Sorrel Weed House.
Yeah, the Sorrel Weed House, something kept touching my hair in the basement.
But I never felt scared except for at the Marshall House. Yeah. I was legitimately scared because, it's fun. It's easy to talk about now, but while it was happening, it was terrifying.
Yeah.
So,
sure, yeah.
You wanted to leave.
I wanted to go home.
Well, tell me this. Why do you like to go to Vegas so much?
I have a crippling gambling addiction.
Yes. Put it all on black.
No, I'm not. No, I play craps.
He plays craps, which is so random.
Yeah, I tried roulette. Roulette's too random. Craps is not random, but it'll take your money. It just takes a little longer.
Craps is not random? Well, I know there are a million things. I don't know how to play crap. I mean, I just know the barest.
Everything's luck based in Vegas. I mean, there's nothing straight up you can win just by skill. But craps involves dice, and you want a certain dice combination to roll depending on what you're betting. Whereas on roulette, you basically, no matter what you're doing, you could put it on black or you put it on red. Your best shot there is a 50-50, which is not even 50-50 because you got that green,
because the green zero, right?
So yeah, there is no true advantage there. But to me, that's sort of like a slot machine. You put your money down and you either win or you lose right then. But with craps, we're both huge board game aficionados too.
And we have a whole huge collection of.
Oh, I have a brother-in-law who is the same.
Yeah, and it's not like Sorry and Monopoly and stuff.
No, it's called like Euro games.
Actually, that'd be hilarious if you told me like we're really into board games. We play Mousetrap, we play Monopoly. I love to play Shoots and Ladders.
I'll throw some Shoots and Ladders now, baby. I mean, I used to play that back in 10.
Some of our games take days to finish. Like we have to leave it set up on the kitchen table, and
that's too
like
much.
The whole thing.
But the point with that is that we like games that you build an engine. So you start with nothing building. And you develop, and sort of Craps works like that. You want to build up your bets. So you
get the board covered.
And then you hopefully win some house money, and you use the house money to start placing other bets. And then hopefully you win until you get what's called 7 out. And that's when somebody rolls a 7 after a point set, and then you lose everything.
Good times. We could do a whole show about this because this is fascinating to me. I know nothing about craps except you throw dice.
It's really
and they always
fun.
have that scene in movies when someone's hot playing craps, and everybody they throw the dice and like woo! Everybody freaks out.
Yes.
If you've ever watched National Lampoon's Vegas Vacation, one of the best movies ever made.
That's actually one of the very first movies we saw.
Oh, you need to watch it.
Watch it.
No,
you'll want to go to Vegas after that.
Yeah,
I do now. I've never been.
We're probably going again in April, so.
Yeah.
Vegas, we also love the shows and the lights. And it's just, I like the time change because it's earlier there. So you can stay up later, and it's like 3 a.m. and I'm still going. I'm like, let's go.
Well, you had a picture, and I was going to ask you about this. You had some picture on your Twitter, and it was like, I got this at a Penn Jillette show, and it was a picture of you. Yeah. I wanted you to explain that, what that is, where you got it. What is the story behind that?
Okay. So we went to the Penn and Teller show, and they do magic. It was amazing.
Phenomenal.
Loved it. So they do a magic show. And they were talking about luck in Vegas. And they're like, everybody in here thinks they're lucky, but I'm going to prove to you that there's only one person in here who's lucky, and I'm going to predict who it is. So he gets out this gigantic board that you saw. And on the back of it, it's blank, and he starts, he's like, I'm going to ask you a question. Everybody stand up. So the whole audience stands up, and he would ask a question, and you pick heads or tails. So if you pick heads, you raise your hand. If you pick tails, you keep your hand down. So once he asked the question, you choose your heads or tails, and Teller would flip a coin, and then they had a girl on stage to verify what he rolled.
And she was a volunteer from the audience.
Yeah, what he flipped. So if she calls heads and you picked heads, you keep standing. So he keeps doing this, and like everybody's sitting down, and I'm still standing. And like halfway through, I'm like, this is weird. He can't possibly pick. I couldn't be picking correctly this long. And so it gets down to me and like 6 other people, and he starts, like weeding us out. And then it comes down to me and one other guy, and he's like, okay, I got to pick something different. One of you has to pick heads. One of you has to pick tails. So I looked at him and I let him pick. And he picked tails, and they asked the question, and it was heads, of course. And so I win, and like, he tells me to come up to the stage, and he tells me to face the audience and start waving regally. And while I'm turned looking at the people, he turns the huge board around, and it's the picture of me. He had predicted that I would win from the beginning.
It's a huge character.
Crazy.
This board is probably like 4 foot long by 2 feet wide, and it's massive. It cost a lot of money to ship back to Georgia.
I was going to let him throw it away, but he's like, no.
No way. Because they both signed it. Yeah, Penn and Teller both signed it too. So
yeah.
You had to ship it? Is that what you said?
Yeah, we had to ship it all the way from Vegas to Savannah.
Oh, yeah.
We couldn't put it on the plane.
Bummer. Hey, the show should ship it.
They should have.
Well, we tried to get.
That's like when somebody gives you a car and you have to pay the taxes on it.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Well, it was just a unique thing, and I wanted her to have it, even though she would have left it. So
I didn't even know. Like, I was facing the audience when he turns around the huge thing, and it's a picture of me, and I'm like, "What is going on?" And I turn around and see it, and so they had picked it from the beginning. He said, they already. And
everyone was cheering for her from nearly the beginning because that's how she got her new Twitter handle.
Because of my jacket.
Yeah, she had on a green jacket, which he saw as aqua. And
I guess the lighting.
And so and everybody starts cheering, and actually played a sound clip of this on our episode where we talk about that. And you can hear everyone in the crowd going, aqua blonde, aqua blonde. And so she won against a guy who can pick whatever he wants.
Yeah.
That's not what he called him, but that's what I'm going to call him.
You just do whatever you want.
Yeah. And
what are you going to do with it?
Story.
You gonna hang it?
It's currently in our guest room. I don't know.
You should, if you have a fireplace or something, you should put it right over the top of the fireplace, like a nice painting. Someone put your pen draw, your white erase board drawing.
It could go in the living room, but I just feel like that would be weird, like having a giant picture.
Yeah, she's not at all what you call vain. So
Well, my vanity has some limits. Like I don't want people coming in and seeing a giant picture of me, and like my kids' pictures are going down the stairs. But
there are limits to my vanity.
I put it in the guest room. There, the guests can see it.
Yes, you may witness it as you sleep in my guest room.
Yeah, the kids took the TV to college, so there's no TV to look at, so you can just look at my picture.
Yeah, good times.
Well, cool. Well, thanks for telling me some ghost stories. That's cool. And for just as a reminder to people who are listening, Scary Savannah and Beyond, I highly recommend it. I've listened to the show myself and will continue to listen to the show myself. It's a very good podcast, so I recommend you go listen to it, and not just listen, but according to you, they'll be watching the show. So,
Yes.
Where do you prefer people go check out the show, or what do you suggest?
As far as just listening to our audio, I mean, we're on most major platforms. I'm really liking the Good Pods app right now that I'm using for some of the stories. But other than that, I have one that I use called Overcast, which just works easily for me. But,
Okay.
We're on Apple, we're on Spotify, we're on, all the big name places that you could find us. So
I think that might just about wrap it up for us.
okay.
So that was a lot of fun. Thanks for telling me some stories.
Oh, you're welcome.
And that was interesting to get to know you two. I don't know if I ever actually said your names, Brett and Crystal.
Crystal, yeah.
Yes.
I don't think you're hiding that. I found it on Twitter in like 2 seconds.
Somebody told us
Not trying to dox you or anything.
Yeah.
So what somebody tried to tell me when I told them we're starting a video podcast, they said, "Oh no, you don't show your faces. You got to get like 10,000 subscribers." And say, "Once we get to 10,000, you show your face." And I said,
"Oh, the face reveal.
What are we supposed to do? Dress up like Daft Punk or something and get up there with helmets on?" Which, by the way, I'm totally cool with.
No, you do it. What was that old show like when you talk to someone and all the lights are out and you can't see them? They're totally in the dark. You could do it like that.
Silhouette, and then I could disguise my voice and I'd be like,
and then you'll disguise the voice. Yes. Great. Anyway, so thank you very much. I appreciate it. Everybody should go check out Scary Savannah and Beyond podcast if you haven't. And you can listen to all kind of ghost stories about lights and spirits and hear the locals talk about the things that they hear and see and all that scary stuff going on. So listen, thanks again, and I appreciate it.
All right. Thank you for having us on.
All right. That was Scary Beyond Savannah. I love those two. They have such a calm energy, such a peaceful, calm energy. That wonderful deep voice that Brett has. It was the first thing. I bet people tell him that all the time, especially when you're speaking into a microphone like that. Incredible. Told him if I ever need a voice actor, I work on books. If I ever need a voice actor, I know who to call. Yeah. Just before we end the show, I gotta tell you, I was just looking through like movie news and stuff, and I saw this headline, which was hilarious to me. It says, "Why Jim Carrey is only making Sonic movies now," which is true, I guess. I mean, Jim Carrey was gone forever. Jim Carrey, super hot, and then at some point just disappeared and was gone. And now he's back playing Dr. Robotnik, and I guess doing a great job. I didn't watch Sonic the Hedgehog. I have no idea. But I was just flipping through this. I thought about bringing it up as news, but I guess I am now. Jim Carrey is an interesting guy. He's like a lot of comedians. He's a little more serious in his regular and personal life than he is when he's playing his character in movies or on stage. So I think he's been going through some times, the last several years, but he's he's ready to get back in the movie game, and he's doing it with Sonic the Hedgehog. But he said, and this was interesting too, he said there's something about Dr. Eggman that intrigues Jim Carrey. He said in an interview that Eggman is a genius combined with neglect and a sense of absolute worthlessness. While the character does allow him to use the same childlike discovery energy seen in his earlier films, Dr. Robotnik has a sense of depth and a sadness that Carrey can sink his teeth into. Wow. Dr. Robotnik played with such texture and layers, with gravitas. Man, I'm going to have to watch Sonic the Hedgehog. This sounds incredible. Did he get an Oscar nomination for Dr. Robotnik and Sonic the Hedgehog? All right, anyway. That's been the show. Listen, we appreciate it. Thank you so much for watching. We'll have a new Kevin will be back next week. Okay, we'll be back to the regular format. Actually, I got to tell you, we have a guest next week. We Anime Talks. Now, I'm not an anime guy. I've watched some anime, in my time. But Anime Talks has a whole show about anime. So he told me, he gave me some homework. So I'm going to watch something and we're going to have a little segment chatting with him. He's actually going to sit in with us on the entire show. He's a cool guy. I think you'll enjoy that very much. In the meantime, listen, have a great week. Okay. If you'll do us a favor, if you enjoyed the show, hit that like button on YouTube. If you didn't like it, hit that thumbs down and tell us why in the comments. Okay. If you've got some spooky ghost stories, tell me in the comments. If you've got something to say about anything we talked about in the show, let us know in the comments. Like it, share it, comment on it. Follow the show on Spotify, rate it. Okay, whatever you use, you can always rate the show. Just give us a rating. We really appreciate it. And that's going to do it. We'll see you next week.